Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Atlanta REALTORS Rundown, the official podcast of the Atlanta REALTORS Association. I'm Andy Payne. I'm one of the hosts for 2025 and going into 2026, which is kind of the focus of today's podcast. We are going to meet our two new hosts for 2026, Greg Barnard and Carolyn Garrett, and then Helen Archer and I will continue. So we will be the four hosts, the four people that record 6, 8, 10, however many we can come up with to answer your questions and help you in real estate in 2026. So let's start with a little welcome. You know Helen, you know me. Let's meet Greg and Carolyn. So for listeners who might not know you yet, Carolyn, share a little bit about like your real estate journey and then how you became, involved.
Well, I have a long journey. I started in real estate 35 years ago and have transitioned in the last several years from active real estate selling into more of a leadership position in training and development. Always grateful and thankful to be here and to be a part of the ARA, and started in leadership a little bit late to the game and was afforded the opportunity to start chairing committees and then be a part of our Emerging Leaders program. And since then have chaired even more committees as well as sit on the board of directors, and have just truly enjoyed my participation in leadership at the ARA and at GAR, and am grateful and thankful for this opportunity to be in the room with everyone here and a new adventure in being a podcast host.
What made you want to be a podcaster? The fame? The fortune?
I don't know that it was fame and fortune. Servant leadership has always been my guiding principle in my life and in my participation here at ARA. And I do coaching and training for my company, so I'm on camera all the time coaching. So this is the next evolution.
There you go.
In that coaching to being here podcasting with all of you.
Awesome. Greg, same question. For people who don't know you, how did you get into real estate? What's your journey been?
Well, it's quite different from Carolyn. Real estate is actually my second career. Some might say my third. I spent a lot of my professional life in Washington, D.C., working in corporate communications and public affairs, or community affairs, rather. And I directed public relations for a trade association, the Council on Foundations in Washington. And then I was recruited by Bank of America to manage external activities for its community development banking group.
For the whole country?
For that whole bank, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I was part of a team. But that job morphed into a national community affairs position, managing the bank's relationships with large national nonprofit organizations. So as it turned out, those occupations offered some good training for some of the skill sets one needs as a realtor. And it was while I was at Bank of America that I worked closely with several of the nonprofits that were working to mitigate the fallout from the collapse of the housing market in 2008 and 2009.
Okay.
So I saw firsthand the devastating effects of the loss of home ownership, short sales, foreclosures, and some of the strategies for trying to help families avoid those outcomes. And I've continued to have an interest in the issues of affordable housing and home ownership. As for what led me to be a realtor, well, people kept telling me I should do it because I would be good at it, and
That's finally, the kiss of death.
Yeah,
none of those people let you buy their house or sell their house.
Exactly. And I finally thought, maybe the universe is telling me something, or trying to tell me something. So that's
cool.
How I got into it.
That's cool. It's funny you being from the banking industry, you'll appreciate this. A stat came out yesterday that foreclosures are up 20%.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm like, from what? From 1.5% to 2%?
Very low.
This is an investor who's like just jonesing to get some foreclosures. And I'm like, it's not what's going on. Right. It is not 2009.
No. And we're never going to see that again because so many other things have been into place to prevent that kind of meltdown again. However, it is also real and a bit of part of what's going on. And I think there's some questions about that later in the program. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I am very, very excited to have you both tons of experience. I did not know about you. So I'm glad that we're having this conversation, Greg. And it's fantastic that we all have different experiences, and all of us are bringing all of this to the table and benefiting our audience. So in that line, what conversations do you feel realtors in our market need to be having right now? And so for expectations that for next year, what do you think that we should be giving to them?
I think that making sure that we are providing support to all of our realtor members about the conversations that they do need to be having. Every market is different. And coming out of that COVID experience, where for buyers and sellers, everything moved so quickly that now things have slowed down a little bit. We need to be having better conversations with both our buyers and our sellers about the mindset of buyers and sellers in this market.
I agree with you. I think expectations is a big one too.
Absolutely. For sellers, they need to understand what the expectations of the buyers are, and that buyers have more choices. So if they're not putting their house in the proper condition, they're not making it available to be seen, and they're not pricing it appropriately, those buyers may very well move on. And for buyers, they need to understand where sellers are coming from, when that they've always felt that in previous markets they were holding all the cards, that they just need to understand that that's where the sellers are coming from, and in a negotiation they may need to think differently about what their strategy is.
Greg?
In terms of conversations?
Yeah, or who are the type of guests you want to bring on?
Okay. There's one of the conversations I think that we need to be talking about is the world of AI.
Oh my gosh,
And,
yes.
That's
It's hard to do it on a podcast,
Yeah.
but it certainly is a conversation that everybody's starting
there
to.
is, but there are a couple of experts out there that I would like to bring on to talk
Okay,
about it.
fantastic.
And, one of them is a fellow that I've heard speak, Jay Griffith at Campbell and Brannan. Is really
he's fantastic.
knowledgeable about
Yes,
AI. And
Jake.
so that's one of the things. There's going to be a lot more information about how it's being used and can be used and will be used in the future as a tool for agents or as a potential diminishment for agents. And we need to be aware of all these potentials. And there's a lot of expertise right here in Atlanta, and I would like to be able to draw on that.
That's awesome. I think AI definitely is the theme. Before, nobody really cared, and now it's, if you're not knowledgeable or becoming knowledgeable with AI, then you're pretty much being left behind.
It feels like when the iPhone came out.
Yes.
Or it's not iPhone, but smartphone came out, and it was like people that were still like, "I like my BlackBerry. I'm going to stay with my
I was
BlackBerry."
that person.
I mean,
person.
I've got two in a drawer still, just in case
Just in
right?
case.
You never know, right?
For what?
Right?
I love that
Give
keyboard.
them to me
that
so I can give
keyboard.
them to my kids.
love
That's
that
where I'm
keyboard.
That
giving them
keyboard
to.
was the best thing ever,
Yes.
right? But yeah,
They were so cool.
But you gotta,
It was
but yeah,
so-
but people
it was so cool.
hang on to that old technology, and it's like, if you're not embracing the new stuff, the new thing, it's a little bit harder for you to fit in,
Yes, and I think now with the AI is not really, you said the word, is embracing it. It's not being scared of it, it's embracing it. Now I am using so many tools besides ChatGPT that are into the mix, and that's the topics that we should be talking about. All the resources as realtors to make our lives easier and faster, and like listing using OcuSell now, you could go and do it very quickly, and it's part it's a component of AI. There's a component of AI in everything we do, and we just don't know it, and we are not maximizing that for our own business.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely should be the theme overall next year.
Those would be good.
Absolutely.
And Carolyn, you had some thoughts on how you wanted to structure your first year, like your series,
I did.
right?
I love governance so much when it comes to our industry, how we can always be better. And I would love to explore some behind the curtain aspects, because we pay a lot of money in dues. So are we making sure that our members know what they are getting for the dues that they are paying? And I want to talk to the people that make those things happen. So I want to look at some people from NAR and people at GAR and people here at the ARA and look at that behind the curtain, and then also explore for our new members and our continuing members what leadership really is, and if you want to have a pathway to leadership, how you can make that happen so that you can take advantage of everything that our members have available to them, and how we can continue to support the industry that has given so much to us.
How do you see the Atlanta market evolving going into 26? And any of you can go into this question. And the reason I ask that question is because the interest rates are coming down, the inventory is starting to come up. You know, how do you see Atlanta market evolving and starting? And, you know, we've come from a very hard year last year. This year has been much better. What do you forecast, and how do you see that next year?
Well, I'm going to be very brief, and then I'm going to turn that one right over to Greg. I think that we need to have better conversations with our clients about real estate math.
Ooh, I like that.
Because we so often have clients, sellers anchor only to a sale price, and we need to have better conversations about their bottom line and their takeaway. And buyers get so tied to the interest rate, they don't really look at all of the other aspects, what their monthly payment is. Is it more advantageous to them now to buy at a slightly higher interest rate where the prices are, or are they going to ride the market out or wait until the interest rates go down when there's the real possibility that home prices have increased? So I want to have better conversations about math so that both buyers and sellers can make the best strategic decision for themselves.
Yeah, it seems like, sellers want the prices of 2020 and COVID prices for their homes, and then buyers want that interest rate through, from COVID. And so they're not meeting in the middle.
No, they're not.
And that's what's been holding over the last 6 months. And those are very hard conversations. And it really is also not only the math, and I'm glad you pointed, because it's math. It's a lot of math. Because when you put it in perspective and you really explain to them that paying a $5,000 more or $10,000 more is really a bottom line of $70, $100 a month, which is really translate into quitting Starbucks for a month, that.
Cancel Disney Plus.
Yes. And it's
just did that, by the way.
Yeah. But, those perspectives, when you put it in that, people are like, oh, I didn't thought of that, you know. And so I think that's very critical. And I think expectations, I always like the expectation portion, because when you don't set the right expectations, then, and lastly, but not least, is motivation. Sometimes we get hung up on trying to motivate them. But here's the thing. If they're not motivated, it doesn't matter how much lower the payment will be. If they're not ready, they're not ready. And you got to understand by asking a lot of questions. So I think that's something that I would like to bring to the table next year. It's really about really engaging with the client and meeting them where they are with the right motivation. If they're not ready, I can smell it from a mile away. You're not getting in my car, sorry, until you're really ready, pre-approved, you know your numbers, you're really ready, and you have already gone to a couple of open houses and ridden a lot around Atlanta and visited 3 areas that you have been talking about. I think that's when you have someone who's really ready. But until then, we're putting that on hold. And these are conversations that I have on a daily basis with the buyers.
But these are conversations that a lot of buyers agents don't know or haven't learned. I think being a good buyer's agent is going to be more critical in 2026. How do you guide a buyer? How do you keep the deal together when you get a bad inspection? We know that only 3 of those 30 things really matter. But, we're seeing record terminations. More terminations since like 2012 or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Georgia's number one in terminations,
but
1 in 20.
But I think it's
24.
Yeah, but I think it's buyers that, they're paying a lot of money. This house 5 years ago was $300,000. Now it's $700,000, right? And they expect it to be perfect. And, first time home buyers being 38 years old is mind boggling to me that people are waiting that long, but they finally are in, and you got to manage that disappointment part.
I think that average age jumped to almost 40.
It's, 40.
So,
Yeah.
but I think
But, you
also
know, like-
the sellers, when it comes to the sellers portion, is really having that conversation where if you really have to move, then this is a market that you need to have. These are the things you need to do, and we need to get your home in a top-notch condition so you get top-notch pricing. But if you don't get that top-notch condition, guess what? You may not even get people coming in. And anyways, I can go on for hours about that topic with sellers, because it's all about expectations. And whenever they're really motivated, that's when it really clicks, because they will price it where it needs to be. So things happen. But I think you said something very important about the buyer's agents. I think as listing agents, it's critical too. Because when you encounter a buyer's agent that does not have the experience to educate their buyers, then as a listing agent, veteran listing agent, it becomes more of a challenge, because you can't sell a house to someone who you don't have access to, because the buyer's agent may not be doing their duty in informing and really counseling that buyers. But I think now, I had one of those instances this week where I had to call the buyer and ask a lot of questions, and the buyer's agent didn't answer the phone. And they text, and I try to get on the phone, because sometimes getting on the phone is important, right? And I think that's important. Anyways, but I'm going sideways.
What about
here,
the
but
market for you in 20?
I just get passionate about these
Sure.
topics.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. How do you see 2026 turning out?
Well, there are so many unknowns over which we have no control that, it's really hard to say. I tend to try to focus more on the present moment than to worry about the future. And I try to stay focused on what I can control, which is my reaction to whatever comes down the pike. But I certainly hope that Atlanta continues to be a desirable destination for businesses and for people who want to move here. I think the key to that will be the Atlanta real estate market continuing to represent value, especially compared to other large cities. During the pandemic, people flocked here because the price of real estate was reasonable compared to other large cities. And that surge in popularity certainly drove up prices, which we loved at the time. But we don't want to kill the goose that lays the golden egg. And I think a balanced market in 2026 with appropriately priced properties moving at a reasonable rate of turnover would really represent a very healthy and stable outlook. And so I don't know if that's what I foresee, but it's certainly what I hope for.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I love that you said you can control yourself, because that's really, you can't control the market.
No.
You can only control the activities you do.
There's so much noise out there right now in the larger world and with the larger economy. I do feel like at some point you just sort of have to keep your head down and focused on what I can do every day to advance my business and not, you have to tune out certain stuff.
Tune out, especially with social media. I tell you, I'm the worst offender. I need to have like a detox of social media this winter. And maybe that's one of the resolutions I do for the new year is the detox of social media, because you get caught up on like, oh my goodness, look at this top producer, he sold, $100 million in real estate, or, and here I am. And you tend to compare yourself with other people instead of really focusing on the great year I've had, despite the challenges that there's agents who have had to get other jobs and stuff,
Yes.
and I know that is hard because I had colleagues who have had very hard years. So sometimes that is the key, is really being grateful and really focusing on the activities that you can control. You nailed it on that one.
Carolyn and I were just talking about gratitude before this whole thing started. So yeah.
Well, Greg, you had also mentioned, because we were chatting before everyone else arrived, that one of the things that you wanted to have on the podcast for next year was a mindset
Yes.
expert.
I love
Sure.
that.
And I think that would be tremendously valuable.
I want to come to that one. I want to come to
Absolutely.
that one. I love
Absolutely.
anything that has to do with mindset.
I think it's just so important, especially in this business. So.
Yeah.
Well, there's always someone who's sold it faster than you, or sold it for more money, or had that trophy sale, but you don't know the story. You don't know. They might have been working on that thing for 7 years, and it finally is ready to go. And yeah, it sold in 3 days, but it's because they worked on it for 6 months before they went live. You don't always know and that everybody focuses on the flash and what new car somebody's leasing, or leasing is a key word, not the eternal, you're renting your car. But anyway, instead of owning it, but everybody focuses on all that stuff, right?
Yes.
Rather than just like you said, stay in charge of what you can control. And,
Absolutely.
Now, when we talk about all of these topics, I mean, let's be real here. What topics do you really think that the agents are hungry but aren't openly talking about?
that's a good question. I like that.
Yeah.
Me first, right?
Yeah.
I think every agent always wants to know how they can sell more real estate. But what they don't want to talk about is the work that they have to do to sell the real estate. And that's not everyone.
They may not want to talk about it, but they
They don't want to talk. They want the easy button.
right.
Yeah.
They don't, as you talked about, the person who had the transaction, the multi-million-dollar, and you don't know where all that work came from. They want the easy button. They don't want to talk about the work that they have to do, the setting your schedule and creating structure and having good habits and making your calls on a regular, consistent basis and being with the people. They don't want to talk about that. And I would love for us to have better conversations about that and how the why behind that and the why behind all of the things that you were doing as a realtor to be better at your job, to be more efficient at your job, say using AI, and then to ultimately be not only more productive, but creating relationships with the people that you serve that last a lifetime.
I think agents don't want to talk about, sometimes this is a lonely business. And it's a very lonely business, even though it's a people business, it's a very lonely business. And I think, even me, I've been doing this for 20 years. I feel lonely sometimes. I don't know who to call. When I just want to bounce an idea and I don't want to be calling my broker and ask, my broker for that. And sometimes I see myself calling my friends, but they're busy. And I just feel like if that's me who have been doing this for 20 years, I can only imagine what a new agent feels like. And so I think that's a conversation that as a new agent, they probably want to know, like they feel lost, especially how competitive the market is for us realtors now that, so many realtors are out there and in the sellers have so many options, to list their homes so many ways. The same with the buyers. Some buyers can just buy the house themselves. And what's the value? And these uncertainties of it's really that what we go back to mindset. It's creating that mindset. And I think I will openly say I feel sometimes lonely, and it's finding that group of people that you could lean on, and perhaps you need to join a team, and perhaps you just need to join a brokerage that gives you that. So those are conversations the agents sometimes don't talk about openly, like I am doing right now, because they're afraid.
Yeah.
Greg, do you think, coming that you had a previous fabulous career before you started in real estate, that the support systems are different between a more corporate job and the real estate industry?
Oh, definitely. Can I loop back to that in just a minute? Because I just want to take it's a little bit of a tangential path to the previous question, but in terms of what agents are not openly talking about, but maybe thinking, and it ties a little bit to what you were saying. And I do think there are a lot of agents who would like to see the criteria for obtaining a license become a little more stringent.
Ooh, yes.
I think for the education and testing component, needs to do a little more to qualify people. There's a lot of unprofessionalism out there, and it doesn't reflect well on the industry, and it often makes our job harder. And I don't, and as a dedicated volunteer here at ARA, and I believe in ARA, and we can talk. I was going to talk about the value of trade associations earlier. My experience with trade associations. I mean, I firmly believe I understand the role an organization like this plays, and I think it's very important. However, I'm not sure. This may be the end of my podcast career. I'm not sure.
It's okay. You're not getting paid. So
exactly.
That's good.
I'm not sure that the goal of always increasing membership serves us completely well. I mean, numbers are great. We don't need to go down that path. But anyway, what I said earlier, I think we need to have better professionalism in the field, and I think that's something people do.
That's good.
That's a very good point, Greg, and definitely something that we should bring to the ARA, because I know that the ARA does a very good job with it. I just think that we need to, maybe as a GAR component, that we need to make it a little harder for us to get licensed and also stay in business.
Well, as someone who deals in that professional standards arena all the time, I'm the one that sees the misbehavior, and I absolutely agree. We need to, it's not just about getting a license and selling real estate. We have so many things that we need to take into consideration, and I think that our associations do need to take a greater part in elevating the industry overall.
This whole thing about texting, and it can be very useful sometimes, but there are times when you need to talk to a person, and
Absolutely.
These younger, and I don't mean to make it an age-related thing, but let's not say younger, let's say newer agents coming in who want to do everything by text, need to be taught as part of the training and getting their license that responsiveness is key to doing this business well, and is key to deserving the opportunity to do it. You've got to be responsive. And I don't know how you inculcate that, but
if only their clients knew, right? If only their clients knew that they're not answering in a timely fashion, or even negotiating, getting on the phone and doing a real negotiation. If only it's a disservice, and it's not only the younger agents. It's also, I've seen a lot of experienced agents who are just hiding behind the text because they just don't want to deal with conflict. And it's so deserving to their clients.
Well, maybe that's a great podcast.
There you go.
Subject, how to communicate and how to be a better communicator in the real estate industry.
Yeah, I think that would be a great.
Well, the one thing I think people don't talk about is that this is a business. You are an entrepreneur. You are a business owner. And, it's a reality check a lot of times that during different conversations, we had this brokerage from another state mailed me this beautiful brochure on a piece of property. It's beautiful. The property, right? I looked it up. The brochure was nice. It was like a bound book almost. And I showed it to a bunch of people in my office, and they're like, "Oh my gosh. I mean, how much did that cost? How much did that cost? How much did that cost?" That's every realtor. $20 a month, $10 a month, $100 for a postcards. How much does that cost, right? It's like, listen, we don't have a building to maintain. We don't have a parking lot to repaint the stripes on. We don't have a billing person that we have to pay for. We are out here as solopreneurs generally, but talking to people about that and investing in your business and all those kinds of things. Realtors don't want to talk about that. But so I've said, okay, I looked that property up. It's $5 million. It's like, that's $150,000, commission on the line. Would you spend $10,000 to make $150,000?
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, when you put it that way, And it's that conversation that realtors don't want to have of like, you do have to invest in this business.
Yeah,
and there's, if you look at any other field of entrepreneurship or any other type industry, it's always like, well, you spend this percentage of your income on marketing, you spend this percentage of your income on client appreciation, whatever. But I think it's because the sales are so difficult, especially now. Transactions are difficult. And again, people don't see the 4 terminations that happened before we finally got that thing sold. And they're just like, oh my God, I got my $12,000. I'm so happy. Right. And then because who knows when you're going to get another $12,000 or another $8,000. Right. And so it's that you gotta budget and treat it like a business, and it just makes everything easier. It's tough for the first few months or first 6 months, but then once you've got, they don't smell that compensation breath. Yeah. That you're like, this is the only deal I got going, and if I don't get this, then I'm in trouble, right? That's a terrible place as a business person to be.
I can relate to that, spending a lot of money and then it doesn't happen, because last year that happened a lot. But it's also teaching our realtors how to prevent that from happening. Right. Putting stipulations in the contract that they, if the seller pulls the listing 30 days in and you already have spent $5,000, that they have to reimburse you for at least half of the marketing cost.
Yeah, it's in the contract, but knowing all those little tiny things make it very important.
It speaks to a broader concept of helping realtors understand that their business is not just a series of transactions. They do want to treat their business like a business. They want to have a budget. They want to have a plan. And for some reason, business planning also scares realtors tremendously.
It's overwhelming because
there's so much. There's so much. But I think that treating your business like a business, having that plan, having a budget, understanding what your expenses are going to be going in, and how you want to leverage what you spend so there is a return on your investment. Because that $10,000 brochure is a return on their investment, not just a expense that they have.
And also it's a marketing piece that they could get more listings.
I said the same thing. I was like, what if these people are so happy with the job that these people did for their piece of property that their neighbor who's got one 5 times bigger is blown away and calls them out of the blue and says, we saw what you did with the Joneses. Now let's help the Sharifs, and we're gonna blow this out of the water.
Joneses and
right? I mean,
yes, and the Hernandez
and the Hernandezes,
absolutely,
yeah.
So, guys and girls and lady, if you could interview anyone inside or outside real estate, who would be your dream guest? And I remember you asking me, or somebody asking me this question last year, and that was the first person that I went.
I know you went and got him.
Yeah, I went and got him. So I am asking you that question so you can think of that person and challenge yourself to get it.
Oh, well, we'll see how that happens. I thought about that a lot this morning in the car on the way here, because I read so much, and there's so many people that have had such a huge impact on my life. But I think Brené Brown.
Oh yeah.
I love Brené Brown.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
All of the daring books, Daring Greatly.
Well, the voice of reason and humor.
Absolutely. She's had, I've watched some things recently that had a huge impact on me, and I adore all of her books. And if I had a dream guest, that would be
okay. That's great.
There you go.
That's great.
I love it. How about you, Greg?
Well, this is the hardest question. I'm a lover of history, and so immediately people from the past jumped into my mind.
Oh, boy.
And I can't interview them because they're not with us any longer. But if I could, I think it would be fascinating to talk to one of the pioneers of real estate in Atlanta, and a pioneer as well as the founder of a woman-owned business back in the 1930s, when these were extremely rare. Emmeline Norman, better known as Mrs. Harry Norman, Miss Emmy. I just think would be fascinating to talk to.
Wow.
But as for someone still living, I would love to interview Bill Bowling, the founder of the Atlanta Community Food Bank and also the founder and moderator of the Atlanta Regional Housing Forum.
Oh.
He has done so much to improve life in this town for the disadvantaged, and continues to focus on now affordable housing is his main focus. And I just think he would be fascinating and inspiring to talk to.
Well, how appropriate. Bill Bowling and Brene Brown, all B's.
Oh,
So let's make it
interesting.
happen because he's here
Yeah.
and he's reachable.
Yeah, he is actually. And the minute I had this idea, I thought, well, why not? We should just try to get him.
Yeah, I thought about Jesse Itzler for next year because he lives here in Chastain Park, and he decided to live in Atlanta. You know, he's from New York, but he lives here, and he's very involved in a lot of things with Atlanta, and he's so inspiring. And talk about mindset, that man has
Oh, yeah.
it. I mean, when maybe we do a series of mindset and bring him here.
4 gurus.
Yes.
Yeah.
And have, I mean, he's energetic, he's an athlete, and he's an entrepreneur like no other. So that would be a good one too, Jesse Itzler. What about you?
So I would love to get Brian Buffini
Oh my goodness.
or
yes.
Larry
bees.
More bees. Yeah,
Yeah,
Brian
Brian
Buffini
Buffini.
or Larry Kendall, you know, with someone who has seen, because they both talk about the fact that markets are cyclical and this is nothing new. Don't freak out. Stay the course, do your job. I got another mindset person, right? You know, both of them have just this longevity in the industry that, you know, they've seen it all.
Those are two of my favorite
Yeah,
people.
and just
Yeah,
let's just be
amazing.
calm and let's just carry on and do our jobs and get out of our own way.
Yes,
You know,
I
I'd
love
like to get one of
those.
those guys.
Yes. So let's make it happen.
Okay,
I
yeah,
think it's
I'm on it.
doable.
I'm on
It's
it.
just a matter of asking, you know, for 30, 45 minutes, and they don't even have to come here. It could be via Zoom.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
we can certainly do it, especially Brene. I think she lives in Texas. But Bill can come. Jesse
Yes.
can come.
Yeah.
And Brian Buffini, he's in San Diego, but you know,
Yeah.
he could do a Zoom.
Yeah. And Larry's in Fort Collins.
Oh,
but
you
yeah.
know, Brian
Yeah.
Buffini, his wife is from Atlanta.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. So he loves coming to Atlanta. So who knows? Maybe you can bring him here
There you
on
go.
one of his
We'll
trips
find
to
out.
visit his in-laws.
That's our homework, right?
Yes.
So what would be an unpopular, well, Greg already told us his unpopular opinion that the ARA needs to have less members.
Oh, I have another.
You have another one?
Well, no,
I have many.
All right. What's your
I
hot
don't
take?
know. I don't know this is unpopular per se, but it might be controversial. 3 years ago, we hosted a town hall meeting on what was then being described as the Wall Street takeover of Atlanta real estate. And that is the buying up of housing stock and the building of new housing by hedge funds and institutional investors to create rental housing. And, you know, this has a double whammy effect. It reduces opportunities for home ownership, especially in the lower to moderate income segment and first-time home buying segment. But it also reduces business opportunities for realtors. And it's a sensitive topic. As members of the ARA, we subscribe to a principle that private property rights are sacrosanct. But that principle was forged in an era when big faceless institutions weren't buying up all the housing stock.
Yeah. Right.
And to the detriment of overall community wellness. So how do we think about situations like that in more nuanced ways? How do we as a society balance property rights and community well-being? I mean, they cannot be mutually exclusive. And just as an example, I think the recent letter that the ARI sent to the city of Atlanta around the issue of short-term rentals, zoning for short-term, you know, was actually a great example of an approach that says there's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
You know, you can't have blanket bans and you can't have blanket full speed ahead. It's we have to learn how to
Yeah.
you know, compromise and look at the well-being of all the parties around the table. So yeah, that's
I like that. What about you, Carolyn?
I'm just afraid I'm going to get hate mail. Helen touched on this earlier, but social media is exhausting.
Yes.
And my controversial opinion is that we have become over-reliant on social media as a way to generate business and not as a component to build relationships. And I'm always going to advocate for this opportunity to be in the room with people and to pick up the phone and talk to people on the phone. Do I believe that social media is important? Absolutely. It should always be a part of your business so that your brand and who you are, your social media speaks before you do. I think that it has great value. And I think that there are people that have been tremendously successful leveraging social media for their business. I just don't think that it should be the only thing that we rely on or the only thing that we teach our agents to do as a way to generate business.
Yeah, going back to what you were saying, how hard it is to build a business. Sometimes they don't want to talk about it. And it is hard because it's really building relationships. It's not only putting yourself out there on social media and doing videos about brand new homes and new construction. It's really about picking up the phone and let's have coffee and let's talk about what's more important to them. So, well, before we wrap up, I wanted to ask, what's one piece of advice you would give to newer agents entering into the Atlanta market in 2026?
Be consistent in the work that you do. Choose to show up and be involved.
We've touched on this a little bit already, but I would say remember that you are starting your own business. You are opening your own restaurant, your own shop, your own delivery operation, your own counseling service, however you think about being in business for yourself. This is not about selling one or two properties a year for extra cash. I mean, it might be if that's your approach, good luck. But this is a serious business and it has a lot of pitfalls. Be sure you love it and find a coach and a mentor.
Absolutely. That's amazing. So Carolyn, Greg, and Andy, thank you. This has been amazing. We are looking forward to listening to you in 2026 and 2027. So that's a wrap for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you found this helpful, be sure to subscribe, share it with a friend, and keep building the business you deserve. Until next time, take care and keep moving forward.